student 15 times this year, and they are still struggling, and we have literally exhausted all of our resources, and we need your help. And so then they can determine what our next steps are, which I'm so grateful to have a governing body like that who helps us brainstorm and problem solve all the time. So that is kind of like a typical week, maybe, plus all the other things. So I love you guys. Thank you for everything you do.
Thanks to all of you. You can sit down. You don't have to wait. Thank you. You will not find a better student support team than the one we have in Carmel Clay Schools. And so I'm really excited. I won't spend too much more time. It's getting late. But I did want to just share a little bit of the information that our high school social workers collected. Something that I added on here, they spend a lot of time supporting our McKinney-Vento students or foster youth in the district. So we have 79 students that are either foster students or students who are experiencing homelessness in our district. And they spend a lot of time connecting them to resources and making sure that they can be successful. They do some small groups. The Preventure group is really a group for at-risk students, so that a student might get referred to that group by one of our M-team meetings to make sure that that student is supported. And they provided a lot of individual student contacts, which, like Sarah said, that's a lot of the work that they do, but they also connected almost 1,000 students to outside resources, which is amazing and might not have happened if our school social workers weren't there to help support them. And then this is just some quick data from our school counselors at the high school level. You'll notice on here that there are a total of 5,167 students at the high school, and they have all been met with at least one time for an academic advising meeting to make sure that their schedule is one that they think that they can be successful with. These two pie charts are from a time study that our high school counselors participated in to look at how they're spending their time. And so when it comes to instruction, that's some of those lessons that we've talked about. They do appraisal and advisement, which is really around scheduling and helping students identify the appropriate classes. They do counseling. Carrie mentioned a lot of that. And then also referral and consultation. So if you look at this category, the goal, like nationally, the goal would be 80% of their time would be spent in the in service directly or indirectly of students. So that blue and red, and our high school team's relatively close to that. And then the green and purple would be, they would be spending 20% of their time doing things that are not in support of students. So we also are very well staffed in Carmel Clay Schools and have a lot more additional supports to support students who might be struggling. We have a behavior team that consults with our schools. Our school psychologists work really hard to support our students. Our school resource officers are amazing. Echo didn't share about her lunch bunch that she has with her SRO Molly, but it's amazing. And many of our school social workers work hand in hand to do programs that positively impact students in our schools. A lot of students, their person is the school nurse. Our school nurses are like that mom at school for kids. And so our school nurses also support the social emotional health of our students. And then we are so fortunate at Carmel High School to have an amazing college and career resource center that is staffed with a college and career director and then also some advisors that students can meet with to think about their future and their careers. And I don't think there are many high schools with that. So we're very lucky to have that support as well because that impacts our students' social emotional health as well. We also have a partnership with Ascension St. Vincent, which many of you are aware of. That started in October of 2020. We have 12 licensed mental health therapists in Carmel Clay Schools and 5 behavior techs who work with students to support them at school. And here's some information just about that. Since the services started, we've served almost 2,000, well, I'd say a little over 1,500 students since October of 2020. And our team knows, our team that's here, when a student has reached a level that they cannot support them anymore and they really do need that mental health treatment, it is so nice to have that option at school. It's great for families. They don't have to miss a lot of work to leave and take their child to an appointment. It's wonderful for our teachers because they can consult with those people to make sure that students are getting the support that they need and that the teacher is helping them along in their recovery. So the common diagnosis at the elementary level, our anxiety is the #1 common diagnosis of students that are being seen in our district for mental health treatment, then ADHD, and then depressive disorder. And it flips a little bit for our secondary students. Anxiety is the #1 diagnosis, then depression, and then ADHD. We also, our mental health work works directly with our safety work as well. And we do a lot of work to support students and make sure everyone is safe. And we have processes and procedures for that. So we have screening procedures for students who might express that they are thinking about harming themselves. And this school year, we rolled out our safety procedures for students who might be expressing that they want to hurt someone else. And so I have a chart up here that displays our suicide screeners by school year since 2017. You'll notice there's a pretty big jump in the 2018-2019 school year. No, sorry, the 2019-2020. That was right after we implemented QPR training, which is required within schools. QPR training refers to question, persuade, refer. It's a suicide prevention training. And we are hopeful that that helped our teachers to identify students. So teachers must be trained every 3 years in that training. And this year we trained 133 staff in our new safety assessment, which I worked alongside Officer Miller, or Supervisor Miller, Lieutenant, sorry, and Mr. Woodward to implement that within the district. And so next school year, we have a very specific process and procedure in place, which is actually mandated by the state by 2025 that every district has this process, or a process. And ours is in alignment with the Secret Service. And a very comprehensive process for us to screen students and also make sure that we have supports in place for them as well. And then lastly, sadly, we experienced tragedies in our school district. This year we had 2 pretty large tragedies that we experienced, and we have a team that is trained in an evidence-based crisis response model. I helped bring that to Hamilton County, and I've been training people across the state for the last couple of years in a PREPARE model. It's an evidence-based crisis response model that was actually developed after the Columbine school shooting to make sure that we had a way to provide support to staff and students after tragedies occur. I helped support Noblesville following their school shooting and worked with my colleagues in Hamilton County to make sure that we, in the event that something bad would happen in our school district, that we had a way to respond and focus on recovery for our students and staff members. And so that's an amazing support. And we have the majority of our school social workers and school counselors and administrators are trained in that model, and we'll continue to train them each school year. So that is all. I really appreciate your time. I'm sorry it's so late. I'm open to taking questions if there are any.
Let's see, I think I had a couple questions. How do you support students who have a lack of motivation? My mic says green. How do you support?
That is a wonderful question, and something that I think our counselors and social workers do often. That sometimes falls in that executive functioning area. Sometimes that motivation might be because they're unable to stay organized, but it might also be that they're just struggling with some mental health issues. And so for each student, that is definitely student dependent, but something that our team is very well versed in doing, and obviously working with their parents as well, because it definitely takes some parent support to help get a student over that hump.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one more question, let's see. So I love my female coworkers. Can you tell me about the diversity on your staff?
Yes, we have some diversity within our team. We've actually hired a few more candidates this school year, and we're really, really excited about that. So are you wanting to know specific numbers? Because I might need
no.
Dr.
I mean, you don't have to
Ostrike.
give me numbers, but I just wanted to know, do we have some males on staff? Do we have some racial diversity in our counseling staff? Because I'm thinking about our student population that is
Yes.
diverse and how we support them. Because, research shows that students open up more easily to someone that maybe they feel like either looks like them or has had the experience that they have had in life?
I'm excited to report that we hired our first male school, well, our only male school social worker for
Okay.
next school year at the high school, which we're really excited about. So we do have a lot of diversity within our school counseling team
Okay.
and school social work team.
Thank you.
Katie? Did you want to go first?
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I'm,
Thank you.
I'm going down the line, guys. This is
Oh,
my new.
Yeah, we're trying to be organized. We gotta follow. First of all, thank you. It's a long night. I know you guys have been working hard all day, and I know you gotta work hard tomorrow. So thank you for being here. First of all, I just want to say I'm gonna speak as a parent. I am so thankful for you guys and everything that you do. I have been the parent twice who has shown up in my pajamas with a crying child with mascara and eye snot and all of the things because I knew that the best place for my child to be was at school that day. And so I was going to do whatever I could to get them in that door. And it was a struggle, let me tell you. So I am so thankful that you welcomed not only my child, but me in my frantic state. And not only were able to calm them down and talk to them, but also my nerves and embarrassment. So I just want to thank you from that perspective. I am also a parent of the Ascension program. I am so incredibly thankful. Had been the parent who had to pull my kid out of school and drive to Zionsville and miss half a day and do all those things. And it was incredibly nice to know that I could be able to like have them work with the counselor who met with me, who gave me information, the information that they could and that my child wanted to share, who worked with that St. Vincent's worked with my insurance carrier to be able to handle all of that stuff, so I wasn't worried about that. So I just wanted to say, from a parent perspective, thank you so much for everything that you do day in, day out, for supporting our kids and for supporting my own children.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Turn. Yeah, I know it's late, so I'm going to limit my questions to 33. If that's all right. I mean, seriously, I will. I think it's Ben Franklin. I wasn't around when he said this, but I think he said he's at least attributed to an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier, not too long ago, I think you ran a program. I wasn't able to attend it. I really wanted to. That dealt with the dangers of social media and those kinds of things. And what sounded encouraging to me in light of there's a Surgeon General report that came out, I don't know when it was, a year or two ago, warning of those kinds of dangers of social media. And we're entering into a class action lawsuit about that.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, could you talk a little bit about what you were trying to achieve with that, with the parents? It sounded like it was an educational warning session for the parents. Am I right in understanding that?
Certainly, yes. And actually, look maybe tomorrow on our social media. We recorded the event for anyone that wasn't able to attend. And I believe we'll be posting it on the web. Well, it's already posted on the website, actually. But we will make sure that families are able to access that. But it was, we started actually with a survey that we sent to all parents in the district, and we had 5,999 respondents. We were really hoping for 6,000. But we got a lot of great data from that survey, and that actually drove the parent night. And the top two things that parents in Carmel Clay schools wanted to know about was how to keep their kids safe online and the impacts of social media on their mental health. And so we had one of our amazing school resource officers and one of the detectives from Carmel Police Department speak on the worst that's out there. And then we had a professor from Purdue University who's been doing some research around social media and the impacts it has on mental health, talk a little bit about her research. And we plan to continue doing parent nights like this next school year because I'm a mom myself, and I know that there's a lot that we need to be doing as parents to make sure that our kids are safe. I'm reading The Anxious Generation right now and can't stop talking about it to our social worker and counselor team, and I really believe that it's going to take all of us to make sure that our kids are safe and that we can buffer the impacts that this is having on their mental health.
That's great. I would just encourage, I'm glad you've got it available. I would just encourage that you maybe continually remind parents and let people make them aware of it. I think it's a pretty impactful thing to hopefully prevent some problems that to lessen your caseload. Thank you. That's all I'm going to do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next agenda item is reports. Dr. Beresford.
Thank you. First, I want to say thank you. That was an amazing presentation. And as a former school guidance counselor, high school guidance counselor, I know how those days go. And I really appreciate the work you do. And you really are in the tough spot most of the time. And I appreciate you showing up and being that person, being that rock for those kids that need it. Just well done. Very well done. We're lucky to have you here in Carmel Clay Schools. I'm going to do a Beresford report light, so I'll go as fast as I can. Also, I wanted to mention if you guys could hang around, we've had a really long night, and we could probably use a little help after the meeting. Just someone to talk to. So, but I'll start out with my sports report. A lot of you would think that the school year's over, but it's not. You know, there's still kids out doing amazing things, but I'll do it short though. Girls track tied for 5th in the state, and they won the 4x400 relay, and it was a really close race, and we were behind. I think we were in 3rd or 4th, and our anchor leg came across and beat the 2 other teams in the last 10 meters and made it happen, and place went crazy. It was just wonderful to see the girls come back like that. Speaking of comebacks, the girls lacrosse team, I think we have some parents out there. They were out of the game in the first half. They were down like 6 goals, and it was dismal, and it was raining hard, and all of a sudden in the second quarter they caught back up within 2, and then tied it in the third quarter and went on to win 10-9. And I'm not a big lacrosse, I don't know anything about lacrosse really when you get down to it, but it was over 7 minutes to go when it was 10-9, and they played defense like none other and became the state champions of Indiana. So congratulations to the girls lacrosse team. Then I hit the road to the boys track team, and we again got 5th at the state meet. And the highlight was two of our runners. Tony Provenzano was heavily favored to get like 3rd. There was 2 runners that were really heavily favored to duel it out. And guess what Tony did on the last lap? He passed them all and really won going away. And he ran 8 minutes and 51.4 seconds, which is the 2nd fastest time ever in the history of Indiana on the state meet. So, and then to cap that off, his friend Kyle Grove placed 4th. And in 9 minutes flat, which is his personal best. And so I think that's the 3rd or 4th year in a row we've had 2 runners in the top 4 in the 3,200 meters. That's the 2-mile run. When you're old like me, that's what we ran. So it was pretty amazing. The other thing I wanted to point out was Ken Brower has been our track coach and an incredible social studies teacher at Carmel High School, and he retired. And so that was his last state meet, and we're going to miss Ken, but we wish him and his wife a great retirement. Then our boys lacrosse team played that evening, and Dr. Ostrike was there, and it was awful. It was a storm. It was just absolutely awful. And to make it worse, we got beat by HSE. But they were runners-up, in the state. And also, if you recall, their coach last year was tragically killed in a car accident, and they had dedicated this season to that coach, and they made him proud. They did a great job. And then finally, I went to golf on Monday and in the sectional, and the top 3 teams advanced, and Carmel tied for 3rd. That was the good news. The bad news is when they tie, they go to the next player, and that player against the other team's 5th person against them, and we got beat by 2 strokes. But the good news is that they do take 3 individuals, not on a team advancing, and all 3 of them were Greyhounds, and one of those guys qualified for the state. So we have 1 more athletic event left in the school year, and real proud of those guys and the girls and the effort they put forward. Important conversation I want to get started tonight is about our school enrollment study. And We plan to study our enrollment balance next school year, as our middle schools are extremely imbalanced. Our Clay and Creekside are up really high, and Carmel Middle School in the middle's lower, much lower enrollment. So we have this imbalance that's significant, and then we also have a few elementaries that are out of balance as well. So our first step in approaching this issue is to get an updated demographic study, which will begin soon. And then our last full study that we did demographically was like in 2018, so it's a little over 5 years ago, which really the life of a demographic study is about 5 years where it's still fairly accurate. But we've had a lot of crazy in the last 5 years. So, but anyhow, so we'll be doing the demographic data. As soon as we get that done, we'll be sharing that with the board, and we'll start addressing it and figure out what process we're going to use to deal with that. Much like the last redistricting process we went through, we'll be working with stakeholders, and we'll be gathering as much input as we can to build the best solution. To be clear, because I know how this goes at school board meetings sometimes, next year there'll be no changes whatsoever. Everybody's right where you are, and then we'll be communicating more as the year progresses next year as to where we're going to go for the next year after that. And the last thing, I didn't really prepare a bell ringer, but something I shared with the board was one of the most difficult duties that folks in leadership positions, like superintendents and like school boards and assistant superintendents, one of the most difficult things that we have to do is make decisions. And when those decisions favor one set of beliefs over another set of beliefs, which we saw tonight played out, and this board struggled. And you could tell they were struggling, and that's why there was a 3-2 vote and then another 3-2 vote, because they're struggling with how do you know, what's the right thing to do? Because we all have our own personal values and belief systems, but when you're serving a community, and a community has a wide continuum of values, and it just makes it more difficult, and because we all have our own personal ones, but we serve a larger group of folks. So if we're serious about serving our students and serving all of our students, we have to take all that in consideration. And that's what you saw here tonight. You had 5 board members that were taking all kids into consideration, and they were trying to figure out what is the best place to go. And what you ended up with at the end of the day was a vote on one book, and then another motion and a plan to just look and see if there's any better way. And I think that's kind of boardsmanship at its best, because you're working the problem, and you're doing your best to lead and do what's right for everybody, and trying to find that common ground. We owe, like we said tonight, we do our best to give our parents the tools they need to monitor their kids and ultimately keep an eye on it. Is it a perfect system? Absolutely not. And that's why we have to work together as best we can together to keep track of these kids and try to get them, what they need, and at the same time protect them. And I got to tell you, I think I'm proud of you guys, because the state legislature put you in a position where you have the final say, and the final say is never an easy thing. And but your job is not easy, but you did your job tonight, and in a lot of instances like this, and in leadership, your decision making is that you're taking an awful situation and trying to get it just bad. And I think that you were conscientious. I think that you listened to the community, and I think you did a good job, tonight working through this difficult conversation. And with that, I will end my report. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beresford. May I have a motion to adjourn? A second? Thank you, Greg. Meeting adjourned.